Alright guys, and welcome back to the Saints View channel for Southampton content for another transfer rumour roundup video. This time we're going to be having a look at some of the new names that have been linked in the past week to a move to Southampton, and also a player that has been linked with a move away. But let's get into it straight away, starting off with a player that has been linked in the past week with us and a number of other Premier League clubs, who has pretty much lit up the Championship this season. That is Harry Wilson, on loan at Derby this season from Liverpool, 22 years of age. He has been fantastic for them. Unfortunate not to get to the Premier League with his loan side. Of course, Derby lost the player final yesterday to Aston Villa, which pretty much means that he won't be going back to Derby next season, whether that be a permanent move or a loan move. It looks like he'll be in the Premier League, whether that's with Liverpool or with a new side. Scoring 18 goals, registering 6 assists in 49 appearances for Derby in all competitions this season. He's very prolific, plays on the wing, can play in the hole as well, and looks like a player that definitely we could do with in our front line. But as I've said before, many Premier League clubs are interested, mainly mid-table sides, it has to be admitted. So, you know, the typical ones: Brighton, Leicester, Newcastle, I think Bournemouth are as well. So we will have a lot of competition if we are to sign Wilson, and the price tag that's being quoted is around £25 million. You probably have heard his name though over the course of the season, probably at the beginning of the season as well, for that stunning free kick when he pretty much had just made his debut for Derby. He lit up the Carabao Cup with an absolute screamer at Old Trafford. He also scored against Southampton in the replay. He scored Derby's first goal, that obviously led to their comeback. The free kick as well, so another free kick specialist if he was to come in to compete with James Ward-Prowse in that sort of set piece area. But he's maybe a fantastic option. He's a clinical player, very talented, still very young, so of course under Hasenhüttl no doubt he would thrive. And we had a very similar situation last summer where we put in a bid for James Maddison, who lit up the Championship the season before, but at this time at Norwich. But then Leicester came in, he wanted to move to Leicester, so we have to sort of do something similar. We clearly have the same business plan if we are looking at these sorts of players, and there's another Championship player we'll be getting into in a minute that we've been linked to. So for me, I think we just need to, if it's going to get over the line, we just need to obviously put the highest bid in, convince him to come to the club. I think we are a good proposition for any young player coming. We've got a fantastic manager. Yes, if you look at the other teams who have done better last season, maybe he's more inclined to go there, especially Newcastle, a much bigger club. But I feel like we've got as much chance to sign him as any of the others. Now going on to another young player who's been playing in the Championship the past season, that is 18-year-old Jack Clarke for Leeds United. Now it has to be said, Southampton aren't strongly linked with this player, but our name has come about in association with the press mentioning a transfer away from Ellen Road for the youngster. The main team that are sort of looking at him, it seems, according to the papers, is Tottenham. However, a £20 million price tag has been slapped on his name, which for an 18-year-old personally, I wouldn't go for at the moment. He got 2 goals and 2 assists in 20 odd appearances for Leeds last year, so a real talent, but he's not quite there yet. Obviously, under a manager like Hasenhüttl or even Pochettino, I guess that's why Spurs are looking at him. I think he'd really develop and do well, but he's a midfielder slash striker. We don't really need another midfield player. But like I say, he's clearly got talent, and it'd be fantastic if we brought in a very promising 18-year-old. Obviously it'd be an investment, but £20 million right now, I think we can be spending our money better. That will help us in the short term in terms of next season, where we really need to be getting back to where we should be, which is obviously fighting for the top half. So if it happens, fantastic. Okay, we'll give him all the backing he needs. But for me, I don't think we should be looking at these players. If it's £20 million we're talking about, I'd rather the club put in the extra £5 million and go for Wilson. Now, moving across Europe to Belgium, right back Joachim Mæhle, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, I hope so anyway, has been linked with us before, but he's once again been linked again with a move to Southampton. Southampton have put in a bid for him back in January, but it got rejected, as Genk were looking to see out their season with him at right back. But he does seem to be a decent talent, 22 years of age, he's obviously very young still, and the price tag being quoted at around £10–11 million. But he has himself said that he will wait for the right offer, and I think it does seem like he was keen to go to Southampton. Genk didn't want to let him go, which is fair enough. Obviously it was midway through the season, but he's got a lot of promise. He's registered 4 goals and 10 assists in 50 appearances for Genk this season, so that's across all competitions, including the Europa League. They did have an okay campaign, so he's obviously got that experience already as a young player playing in European competition. But whether he would be back up to Jan Valery or would be coming in to contest Valery for that first place spot at right back, I'm not too sure. I would like to think that they give Valery the chance to start the season as first choice, and then obviously he'd be very good competition. But at 22 years of old, the Dane is a real prospect, it seems, and would provide Valery with very good competition, and we'd be a very strong asset down at right back with two very promising young players. So I think it'd be a good addition. We obviously need a right back to back up Valery or to overtake him. Personally, I'd back him up. I think Valery's a good choice. But it's whether we want to be going on and spending 10, 11 million pounds, where we could do what we did a couple of seasons ago and go find a player who's on a free, like we did with Jeremy Pié, if he's not going to be playing too much. You know, if we're saying rotation at Christmas time and then the cup games, that's what, maybe 10 appearances a season. I don't think 10 million pounds we should be looking at that sort of price tag for a backup right back, unless we are going to give them more opportunities, because we do know Hasenhüttl does like to rotate at times, so we'll see what happens with that one. But it's quite clear to see that the player would like a move away from Genk, maybe, and it probably preferably to the Premier League. We've also been linked with ADO Den Haag defender Wilfried Cannon. I think I'm pronouncing that right as well. Obviously, if I'm not, let us know in the comments. 25 years of age, he's close to his prime. He's a centre-back, quoted to be valued at only around €5 million, so definitely a bargain, it seems. Known for being comfortable on the ball, as so many of our previous successful defenders, so he fits the mould. Leicester are also interested in the defender who, like I say, is getting close to his prime now, 25 years of age, but it seems like the Eredivisie club want him gone as soon as possible if he is to go, and the player wants the move sorted as soon as possible as well, as he is off African Cup of Nations to play for the Ivory Coast. So that's later on in the summer, so it seems that if that is to happen, then it needs to be done in the next couple of weeks. Of course, when he's being valued at around £5 million, it seems that he's going to be most likely a backup to Vestergaard and Bednarek, which is fair enough, and if he's obviously good enough, he will get an opportunity. The last defender that we got for £5 million, well, obviously Jan Bednarek, so look how he's turned out. So he could be a prospect, but it's definitely a position we knew we needed strengthening in. We said that all along, pretty much throughout the whole season, especially back in January. So I think it's very shrewd if the club do go in for this player, or a player of his type and position, because we clearly need strengthening in the centre-back department, especially if one or two of the centre-backs are sold and moved on. Now finally, going on to the first player who's been linked with a move away from Southampton, that is Sam Gallagher. Still only 23, but was given the opportunity this season after 2 season-long loans in the Championship. He just hasn't clicked this season. He hasn't really been given the opportunities. I think he had a couple of cup appearances, maybe 2 or 3 league appearances off the bench under Hasenhüttl. It just hasn't happened for the striker. It hasn't really happened for him throughout his Saints career. I think he scored 2 goals since his first team debut back in 2012, 2013. I think it was 2013, 2014 times. And we don't really need him. Tom and I said in our end of season player reviews, you know, there is a good chance that he will be off, or the club won't need him and he will be sent away. Now the team linked with him are a Championship side. It is Blackburn, who he did spend his first season-long Championship loan at back in 2016-2017. Unfortunately, he was part of a side that got relegated to League One, but Blackburn, since his loan, have come back up and finished 15th in the Championship last season, meaning that'd be a decent move for him. The price tag being quoted at the moment is £5 million, which I think is fair enough. We're never going to get double digits for him. You know, that's absurd really, even in today's market. So if he is to go, and he probably will be going, wish him all the best of course, and in the Championship for a mid-table side I think he could do quite well. But of course if he is going to go, that does mean we need to be looking at either bringing in another reserve striker, or looking at what we've got in the under-23/academy and maybe giving them a couple of first team opportunities, the likes of Marcus Barnes, Dan and Ludu, even Obafemi when he's fit again, bring him back into the fold. I think we do have a couple of strikers available to us via the academy, via the under-23s, and so it probably makes sense to let Gallagher go, even if it is just for £5 million. But thank you very much for watching, guys. That is the end of the video. If you've enjoyed it, remember to leave it a like, subscribe if you are new. Let us know in the comment section any of the players that we've just mentioned. Who would you like to see join Southampton? Do you think it's right for Gallagher to be moved on? And we will see you in the next video.